My parents used my emergency medical money to buy my brother a new car. When I asked, "What if I get worse?" my dad said, "Don't be selfish." Then they went pale when I mentioned the warning label. My name is Gabriel, and in my family, I learned early that love was not given equally, it was ranked. My brother Nolan sat at the top, glowing, protected, celebrated, while I existed somewhere below the surface, useful but unseen. By the time I was 17, the neglect was no longer subtle. It was routine, predictable, and quietly cruel. Nolan's wants were emergencies, my needs were inconveniences, and my pain was something my parents trained themselves not to hear. At 17, I started getting sick in ways I couldn't explain. Shaking hands, blurred vision, migraines that felt like knives behind my eyes, moments where my legs would simply stop obeying me. My mother alone told me I was being dramatic. My father Roderick said stress builds character. Meanwhile, Nolan was getting new shoes, new gadgets, new praise. When doctors recommended further tests, my parents delayed, postponed, ignored, and I learned how to swallow fear along with pain. By 19, I was working 2 jobs while studying, quietly paying household bills, fixing things around the house, covering for my parents when money went missing. Nolan, meanwhile, complained about his old car, an embarrassment he said, something that made him look poor among his friends. When my symptoms worsened and I ended up in the hospital, disoriented and terrified, my parents didn't rush to my side. They argued in the hallway about money, and by the next week, they had paid for Nolan's new car but refused to cover my hospital bill or prescription. When I confronted them, still weak, still shaking, my father didn't even look ashamed. He said Nolan needed that car for his future, that my condition could wait, that I was strong and always had been. I remember asking him directly, "What if I get worse?" And he answered, "Don't be selfish." That was the moment something in me cracked, not loudly, but permanently. What my parents didn't know was that I had already been managing a neurological condition in secret. I rationed medication, skipped doses, endured side effects alone, because I knew asking them would only bring lectures and silence. One night, reading the fine print on my prescription, I noticed a warning label that changed everything. It stated that untreated hereditary neurological conditions required mandatory state reporting, especially if signs of medical neglect were present. My hands shook harder than ever, not from illness, but from realization. Around the same time, I uncovered the truth about my parents' finances. The illusion of wealth, the obsession with appearances, the desperate prioritization of Nolan, it all traced back to a massive failed investment they never recovered from. Their house, their lifestyle, even Nolan's privileges were balanced on a fragile lie. Still, none of it explained why my health was treated as disposable, until I spoke to my best friend James, a forensic accountant with a mind like a locked vault. James dug quietly, carefully, and what he found made my stomach turn. My father had a life insurance policy worth $10 million, their last real asset, and buried deep in the clauses was a condition. If a direct descendant was diagnosed with a hereditary neurological condition before age 24, the policy would be void. That was when everything aligned. My father hadn't just ignored my illness, he had known, and he had chosen money over my life. James didn't hesitate, he paid for my medication, helped me stabilize, supported me when my anger threatened to swallow me whole. He also explained something else, because my parents never paid my bills, never visited the hospital, never picked up prescriptions, the pharmacy system had already flagged the situation. A state investigation into medical neglect was underway, silent but unavoidable. I confronted my family one final time, calmly, deliberately, and for the first time, without fear. I told them the investigation had begun, that mandatory screening would be required for all minors in the household, including Nolan. I watched the color drain from my father's face as I explained that this alone voided the insurance policy, and that a positive result would make Nolan uninsurable for life. My mother cried, my father raged, Nolan laughed nervously, still believing he was untouchable. 2 months later, the house was gone to foreclosure. The insurance policy was officially voided for fraud, and Nolan tested positive for the same gene. His friends vanished, his dreams collapsed, his future rewritten overnight. The golden child was forced into a real job, real responsibility, real consequences. My parents were left with nothing but each other and the truth they tried to bury. I walked away clean, free, and finally seen by myself. I am building a life defined not by neglect, but by choice, by peace, by survival. They lost everything chasing appearances. I gained everything by letting go. When you deny someone care, dignity, and protection. You are not avoiding consequences, you are only postponing them. Please like, share and subscribe for more stories. Thank you.